Hi everybody, this is Rich. This is my channel. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel is all about drones and photography. So in this video, I'm going to be talking through 5 great tips to get better drone photos. So these are tips for beginners primarily, but could also be useful if you're a bit more experienced in drone photography and just looking for a few hints and tips that might improve your images. So hope you all get something out of this video, and if you enjoy it, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking the video, and then watching out for more content in future. I release videos every Wednesday and Saturday. To get on to things then, the 5 tips that I'm going to talk about. Number 1 is settings for your drone. So with these drones, with the Mavic drones and various other drones, you'll have a lot of different settings that you can go through, and the primary ones that you need to check to get good photos really is to firstly make sure you shoot everything in RAW as opposed to JPEG. RAW will capture a lot more detail, a lot more depth in color information, and then when you process that, you can bring out much more color and correct things like exposure in certain areas of your photos. So in the shadows, you can bring them up a bit to bring out the detail. You can bring your highlights down and just create a really wonderful image, hopefully. So make sure you shoot in RAW, and make sure you choose the manual settings so that you can adjust your shutter speed and your ISO in particular. So your ISO, you want to keep that as low as you possibly can. So typically 100 will be the lowest that you can go to on drones like the Mavic Air, but some other drones like my other drone, the Hubsan Zino, that will also go to 100 on ISO, but it might not give access to the shutter speed, so you might have to just go onto sort of auto exposure for that, and then hopefully be able to balance it nicely. But whatever drone that you use, there should be some sort of manual settings that you can play around with and use that to get really good images. And tip number 2 then is about lighting. So this is a lot to do with the time of day that you take your photos and the sort of conditions that you pick. In photography, generally, the best time of day to take photos outdoors is during golden hour. So golden hour happens twice per day. It's when the sun is sort of rising and when the sun is setting. So at these times of the day, you get really nice sort of soft golden light and beautiful colours in the sunset or sunrise. So it's a great time to compose a really good landscape image. And likewise with drone photography, you can get some magnificent images as well. So just showing a couple of images on screen now, so you can see that this image was shot during golden hour, and yeah, came up with a brilliant sunset there, or sunrise. And other times, though, if you shoot in midday sun, you might find you can get a good image, but the light will be a lot harsher, which can create a lot more shadow and really blown out highlights in your images. So that's not ideal, but you can still get some interesting shots in the midday sun. I would typically recommend avoiding the lower light though of night time, because these drones, they've typically got quite small camera sensors, so that means that you'll get probably quite a lot of noise in the photos. But it's sometimes worth trying to interesting night shots if you want to, say, get sort of like streaming lights and do a bit of light painting. That could be where you do a long exposure and then capture trailing headlights in your images, which can look really cool, really different. So yeah, there is still things you can do at night, but not my preference. I'd always recommend trying to get your shots at golden hours, get out at dawn or at dusk at the time when the sun's rising or the sun's going down. So that's lighting as number 2. And number 3 we're going to talk about is composition. So when we talk about composition in photography, we're really talking about how you frame an image, what you get into that image, so putting it together, the sort of perspective really. So some good tips for composition is, firstly, try to have a subject in your image. So typically with landscape photos, people will often just try and get a really wide shot and get loads of things in the image, but it's often better to see what you can take out of an image and really have a subject that the eye is drawn to, and then surround it with a really sort of picturesque scene. But yeah, have some sort of subject. And then going on to subject, it's a rule in photography that a lot of photographers choose to sort of shoot by when they're composing images, and that's the rule of thirds. It's a really popular thing in photography, so I'd recommend looking up the rule of thirds and thinking about how you can apply that to your shots. So the rule of thirds is really about how you frame a subject. So if you have a subject to your image, say it's like the island in the middle of a lake, like this image. So as you can see with that, I've put the island in the sort of, if you divided the image into lines in thirds, it's in the right third there. So typically the images where you follow the rule of thirds just look more pleasing on the eye. That's not to say that you have to apply it all the time, but it's a really good guideline in photography to get a nice image. So look at the rule of thirds and how you can apply it to your images. It can also be used with horizons, so try to have the horizon either in the upper third or lower third of the image. And if you have it in the lower third, obviously you're going to be emphasizing more the sky in that image, and then likewise in the upper third, then you're going to be emphasizing more the foreground. So those are some tips worth thinking about on composition. Another thing to always look out for as well is leading lines. So these could be like a pathway that sort of draws the viewer of the photo to a subject. So look out for leading lines and think about how you can apply those to your images to get really beautiful shots with your drone. So these sort of rules also apply for photography. So yeah, I recommend thinking about them. And talking about composition as well, with a drone obviously you can get some really unique perspectives, so it's always worth having a look at what you get top down as well as looking at sort of landscape images. And it's also good sometimes to try flying low. You can get some unique images by flying low. For example, flying low over a lake, you could perhaps get some sort of vantages and viewpoints that you couldn't naturally get with a normal camera and tripod setup. So yeah, try and be creative, try and get things that are unique and different with your drone shots, and always think about composition and how to make the image really sort of pop and stand out, be different, and really attract the viewer's attention. And next tip that I've got is to use filters. So filters, you could use ND filters and polarizers. They're the typically most common ones. ND filters are great when it's really bright and say you want to sort of slow the motion of water down to get that sort of like creamy feel to the water, or get more of a mirror image from like a lake and trees all around. Then use an ND filter that will enable you to shoot at a much lower shutter speed and capture the movement of the water much more, as opposed to just freezing it in motion. So that's a great thing to use ND filters for. As I mentioned, polarizers are the other type of filters that are really common, and these are superb when you want to shoot anything near water. And you can get polarized ND filters to combine the best of both of those filters. And a polarizer is just going to enable you to avoid reflections off shiny surfaces like water. It also brings out the horizon much better. It kind of filters out certain lights. I'm not sure the full technical details how it works, but in terms of water, it stops the glare, the sunlight bouncing off the water essentially. So it can help you make a more interesting image that way. So definitely consider using some filters. I've got some links in the description. Those are affiliate links to some filters that I own that work really well on my DJI Mavic Air. So if you want to buy through those, that helps out my channel and be much appreciated. But otherwise, there's loads out there. You can check on loads of other websites. You get them on eBay or wherever really. Popular makes, the sort of higher level brands, things like Freewell and Polar Pro. So there's good filters to look at. And final tip then, number 5, use editing software to really bring out your images. So I can't emphasize this enough. The program that I use is Lightroom. That's a paid for program from Adobe, as part of their Creative Suite or Photographer's package. But with that, you do have to subscribe, so there's a monthly subscription to it. Now there are a lot of other programs out there, some of them that you would pay up front for, some of them that are free, like there's a software program called GIMP, which is a freeware program, which can do a lot of the same sorts of things as Lightroom in terms of adjusting exposure, adjusting saturation, and really you can do a lot more things. Just bring down highlights. If say your sun was too bright and you've really sort of blown out the highlights in the image, you can bring them down with Lightroom and these editing softwares. And also shadows, if it looks too dark, you can bring up the shadows and then bring out the detail again in the shadows. And also you can bring down the noise and sharpen images. There's just so much you can do with Lightroom or other imaging software packages. So look at the free ones if you don't want to pay out a monthly subscription. I'd recommend starting off with that. But yeah, definitely look at some sort of image processing software to get the most out of your raw files from your drone, and you can produce some great images then, impress all of your friends, family, social media followers, And that's my 5 tips then. So I hope you've all enjoyed this video and hopefully got some sort of benefit from it. As I say, please do consider subscribing, liking the video, perhaps sharing it with anyone that might be interested, and join me again for more videos. Like I said, 2 videos per week, Wednesday and Saturday, so look out for those and see you all again soon. Bye for now, have a great day everybody.